Hi everyone, this is Kyle Welch with RCR Wireless News. Now in today's webinar, we'll be talking with Sandra Boyle, Senior Analyst, CEM and Analytics at Heavy Reading, and Gaurav Deshpande, Senior Program Director, Analytics, Industry Marketing of the Communications Sector at IBM. We'll be talking about measuring a customer's experience in real time, predicting customer behavior for richer engagement, and automating proactive action to support sales and retention. At this time, I'd now like to pass the presentation over to Sandra to start the conversation on proactive analytics.
Thank you, Kyle. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to join our webinar today. As Kyle mentioned, we will be talking about proactive analytics in the context of network function virtualization, NFV, and cloud. And we will also be taking a look at some of the drivers and challenges for network operations, especially for those that have already started to implement NFV. We'll also look at how it's becoming important to have a real-time service-level view of customer experience. And then Gaurav will take us through how you can measure and improve individual customer experience, as well as looking at solutions for analytics. So I'm going to start by looking at some of the key drivers that we see today in the telecom industry. And I'm sure you're familiar with many of these, but I'll just kind of go through and give you our thoughts on the main ones and the ones we'll be looking at today. So cost reduction, we all know that one well. ARPU is not increasing. In fact, in some cases, it's decreasing, and customers are willing to pay a certain amount for mobile data, IPTV, and broadband, but that's it. So we have to figure out a way to get costs under control in terms of networks, in terms of operations, etc., in order to keep profits at a reasonable level. The second one, customer experience and retention, is getting a lot of attention because that is a key one in terms of keeping existing customers. So avoiding churn. It's quite expensive to acquire a new customer. So we're seeing that communication service providers are really focusing on their existing customer base, particularly against increasing competition from other digital service providers and internet companies. The third one is all about developing new revenue. So what new services can we sell? Digital services, new cloud services. So this could be anything like video, Internet of Things. It could be mobile security. It could be mobile advertising. So really, this is where the innovation is happening. The next one, NFV and SDN, virtualized networks. This is where we're going to focus today. And this is really the shift from hardware to software for greater flexibility in terms of developing services and launching services more quickly. And this is a major change for network operators, as you're well aware, so we'll look into this in more detail. And last but not least, digital transformation, which is impacted by all of the drivers we just talked about. And this, in many cases, is a fundamental change for many operators, looking across IT operations, looking across processes, looking across structure within the organization, and really trying to get to a more leaner operating model. So let's move on to on-demand networks, which are really driving the change that we just talked about. So this really represents an inflection point in terms of building networks and services. So moving from a generic, more static, one-size-fits-all physical networks to spinning up virtual network components on demand to meet specific services and customer needs. And what we're seeing, and I have some research and survey results to share with you later, is that it's highlighting the need for new tools for network operations, for fulfilling services, and also for assuring them in a dynamic environment. And since this will require more integrated and automated insights and analytics so that you can have a service-specific, real-time understanding of the customer's experience once VNFs and new services are instantiated. Which is really, goes back to having this real-time service experience monitoring, and visibility of the configured network state. So really both pieces. And David Anzalig, who heads up NFV at Vodafone, has been really kind of vocal on this point, that NFV is great and it's got a lot of benefits, but it's really key that operators can assure services. And from a scale perspective, compared to physical networks, NFV has so many more components and VNFs to consider that need to be monitored in terms of performance, root cause analysis, fault management, etc. So we see proactive analytics definitely playing a role in the future of NFV. And this is just to show, I'm sure many of you are aware, but really the tier 1 operators are definitely committed to NFV and really bringing network resources in line with the IT world. So moving network control from hardware to software to really, you know, as AT&T's Krish Prabhu says here, to cope with the extreme growth that's expected with the ongoing growth of mobile data, video, cloud applications, Internet of Things, etc. And AT&T have said they want to virtualize more than 75% of their network by 2020, which is extremely ambitious and are definitely leading the charge there. So we also wanted to get a sense from other operators in terms of where they are with NFV. So we conducted a survey towards the end of last year, and it was a global survey. So it included the US, Asia, Middle East, etc., Latin America, Canada, Europe, of course. Respondents were in a mix of roles, so R&D strategy, network operations, engineering, network planning. And as you can see on the chart here, there was a mix of incumbent, converged, fixed and mobile operators, pure play mobile operators, fixed operators, incumbents, and challengers. And we also, as well as a web survey, we also conducted in-depth qualitative surveys with the operators as well. So the first question well, not sure if it was the first question, but one of the key questions we had was how much of your company's overall network infrastructure will be virtualized by the end of 2018? And the results were quite mixed. Few were as bullish as AT&T, with 6% saying more than 60% of the network by the end of 2018. And it really works out about a third. So 1/3 said less than 20% of the network will be virtualized by the end of 2018. About 1/3 said between 20 and 40%. And about 1/3 said more than 40% of the network. So this is really a journey for everybody, and everyone's at different stages of implementation, testing, going into production in phases, and for certain things. So that was a key point. So now we'd like to just check. I'm assuming you're still awake since we just started, but we have a poll question for you. And we'd like to ask you, what is the most important factor driving your company's adoption of network function virtualization, NFV? So if you could answer that now, I'll give you a few minutes to respond to that. And Kyle, do you have the results there?
Yes, I should be able to see the results. Tied in first place were deliver new services faster and improve customer experience, and then just behind that was reduce operational costs.
Okay, thank you for that. That is what we would expect. We asked a very similar question in our survey. Instead of the most important factor, we asked what were the 3 biggest factors. And certainly number 1 was delivering new services to customers faster. It's interesting that you mentioned customer experience, because I do think that's becoming increasingly important. And also we found not to underestimate the importance of remaining competitive. against not only peers with the other communication service providers, but also other digital competitors. And of course, reducing operational costs is a key part of the business case as well. Now, this is an interesting question that we asked in terms of what are your company's top 3 operational concerns regarding NFV? And if you look at, there's 2 bars. The blue bar is all respondents, and the orange color bar is respondents already implementing NFV. And I think we've all heard about immature service assurance tools and that being an issue, and also about IT skills. But the one that really caught our attention here was the inability to correlate customer service impact with physical virtual device failure. And this is really the top concern for service providers that are already implementing NFV. So, that really underlines our point about having that understanding of real-time service experience and customer impact. If you are seeing a fault, it could be that you're seeing that the network board is red, but you don't know at the service level what the impact is on the customer. So that's definitely something to consider. And another key question that we wanted to ask was, how important a role will analytics play in managing NFV? And for all about 85% of respondents, analytics will be important, and for over half, absolutely essential. So I think it's still being determined exactly how that will play out, but it's key that most service providers are looking at analytics as playing an important role. And the reason why it really matters is because the network matters to customers. So really it's the top factor in terms of driving customer loyalty and net promoter score. So what we're also seeing here is that there's not a huge difference or delta between all of the factors. So that, although network is coming out number 1, you really do need to look across billing, across customer care, etc., to drive that customer experience that we just talked about as being important. And another, which brings me to my next point, which is what we're seeing is that many customer-oriented operators are setting up service operation centers, or SOCs, to monitor services in real time, end-to-end. So this is really to understand the service experience through the eyes of the customer. In the customer's case, it could be they're trying to watch TV on their iPad and can't because it keeps stalling, so they're not happy with the service. And in this case, communication service providers want to be able to see the service layer. Only monitoring, say, resource and network layer is not enough, and you need to understand why the video is not downloading or stalling. And what it's also allowing, what the SOC is also doing is playing a intermediary role between the customer-facing departments like sales and marketing, customer care, and the network teams, network operations and engineering. And ideally, we believe that all teams should be using the same set of data and analytics, but in customized use. And in the future, what you can also do, and what operators are doing, is prioritizing resolving network issues that impact customers. You can also look at VIP customers or customers that are likely to churn based on churn predictors. And in the future, we see also very likely that SOC-based operations will get involved in the commercial side and working with marketing on how to apply analytics to generate additional revenue. And also advanced predictive analytics and machine learning can help operators anticipate customer impacting network and service quality degradations. And Juan Ma, who's a global CTO for network at Telefonica, I spoke to him at Mobile World Congress, and they were in the process of setting up service operating centers to monitor in real time all the services they provide customers, starting with mobile services. And he is a big proponent of this and said the business case really made sense as services are becoming more complex, and particularly, you know, with the move to virtualized networks and cloud services as well. And that really using analytics on services, operators can get to the point of anticipating incidents and identifying proactive actions to improve the customer experience as well. And another operator, an Asian operator, also mentioned the fact of coupling network metrics with other customer impact factors such as price, customer care, and billing, because they look at network quality together with those other factors together as a single value proposition, which is also kind of moving in that service operating center direction. So, to summarize, really, what we see as the opportunities for proactive analytics, and there could be others as well, but the main ones that we're seeing today are being able to improve the customer perspective of network performance, and then prioritizing customer affecting issues, and then also being able to monitor that customer view of real-time service experience will be absolutely key when it comes to on-demand network and services. And last but not least, gaining that unified view of customer experience. And with that, I will hand over to Gaurav to take us through this section.
Thanks a lot, Sandra. Let me introduce myself. I'm Gaurav Deshpande. I would like to welcome everyone who has joined us today. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I run industry marketing for IBM Analytics portfolio, and I lead the communications sector at IBM. So today we'll focus on telecommunications industry, although those of you who are cable operators and IPTV providers will find this equally relevant. We all love stories, and I've been always fond of stories since childhood. So let me start off today's presentation with a story, right? This goes back about 2,500 years, very old story. It's from ancient India. It's about an emperor who ruled the western part of India, which includes what is today called Mumbai or Bombay. He was very generous, but he made decisions in a hurry without looking at the whole picture. So when the farmers from the southern part of the country visited him and complained about drought, lack of rains in their part, he would take all the water from the rivers to the fields in the south, and he would leave all the fields in the northern part without sufficient water. So the northern part farmers would complain next, right? When he saw enemy forces gathering on the eastern border of the kingdom, he would take his entire army and deploy that to the east, leaving the western borders vulnerable. So the wise men in his court wanted to have him to realize that he needs to look at the whole picture, right? They wanted him to understand his error, but who can tell an emperor directly? So they knew that the emperor was very fond of games, so they requested emperor to participate in a game where the emperor would be blindfolded every day. They would bring in an object, he would touch the object, and he would guess it. So first day, they brought in an object, the emperor was blindfolded, he touched the object, laughed and said, "Oh, this is an easy game. You have brought a rope," because it felt like a rope, right? And next day, the emperor felt something round, solid pillar with a rough texture, and he says, "Oh, this is easy. This must be trunk of a tree." Next day, he proceeded to touch the object, which was flat and wide, and he said, "Oh, you have brought me against a wall today." And on the final day, the emperor felt a really sharp tip of the object and declared that today's object must be a spear. The last day, the wise men then decided to take the blindfold off, and the emperor was amazed to see that it wasn't a rope, it wasn't a tree, it wasn't a wall, it wasn't a spear, it was an elephant, right? So much like the emperor in ancient India, the NetOps team, the network operations team currently is guessing how each customer is doing by looking at parts of a picture at a time. They're looking at separate network operation tools monitoring every part of the network. One piece of the tool monitoring traditional cellular voice and SMS network, another looking at the data networks, 3G, 4G, and now soon to be released 5G networks. Another one that looks at fixed line network, another one that monitors IPTV, cable TV, and so on and so forth. All of these network monitoring tools are showing network events that are occurring in the network and measuring the quality of service delivered. But what about the subscriber's individual quality of experience? Who is correlating that network quality of service with the individual subscriber's quality of experience across all of these services, across all the technologies at different locations, and who is coming up with that unified subscriber experience view, right? Who can see the whole elephant? So unless the network operation team can see the customer data as a whole across all of these facets and have a central team owning it, or at least a central team that has visibility into all of this, we'll keep guessing like the Indian emperor from 2,500 years back as to how the customer is doing and what are her needs. So with that, I promise you this is the next chart is a technical chart, and this is the most technical chart that you'll see in my entire webinar. I have a deep dive technical presentation. I'm happy to share that with you if you contact me. But today I want to just focus on concepts and high level idea. And we'll drill down into details on the software as well. So this is IBM's point of view of cloud-based network infrastructure, and you can see how the complexity adds up very quickly for IT and network operations team. So we start at the bottom layer. You have the hybrid environment of on-premises and off-premises cloud services. You have virtualized network with network functions virtualization infrastructure, or the acronym NFVI as the foundation, which is typically managed by a virtualized infrastructure manager or VIM. Coming up a layer within the virtual network stack, then we have virtualized network functions, typically managed by an element management system or EMS. Excuse me. These virtualized network functions are then instantiated by virtual network function manager, right, that you see to the right, and orchestrated by an NFVO, which is network functions virtualization orchestration tool. So as we move to the right of virtual network on the infrastructure layer, we come to the legacy network with all of its variety and complexities, right? You got different types of network, fixed line, cellular, voice and SMS network, 3G, 4G, and all of that is coming up with 5G. That is a new network, right? 5G will most likely be on the virtualized part, but all of the legacy 2G, 3G networks, voice, cellular voice, SMS network, all of that is here. With all of this complexity in the bottom of the infrastructure layer, the middle layer, service management layer, has to be really dynamic and extensible. So on top of this service management layer, we have the actual customer experience. And this is where majority of telecommunications companies, the communication service providers, are failing right now. We have very good tools to manage infrastructure and even service quality management for individual network components, but we just don't have the ability to correlate what's happening at the network layer, at the quality of service layer, with what is the actual quality of experience being delivered for an individual subscriber. So with that perspective and problem statement, let's look at how we are helping telcos, large and small, solve this problem in the real world. I'm going to peel the layers of the onion called customer experience a bit and look at what we really mean by it. So the first facet is subscriber connectivity. When you turn on your mobile phone, or you pick up your fixed line, or you have the satellite box turned on, whether you are accessing a YouTube video, making a WhatsApp call, right? All of that connectivity is the first step. Can the subscriber connect to the network? All of you have experienced that few seconds of complete silence when you punch in the phone number in a new country or select the number on your mobile, making sure that subscriber can connect every time and in just a few seconds, right? Typically under 3 to 4 seconds is key part of the experience. The mobility is the next facet, and that's all about using the services when we are traveling. Is the switch between radio towers handled seamlessly for a wireless network, right? Or does it result in a dropped voice or voice over IP call? The device that's used by the subscriber is the third facet. What is the experience of iPhone users? How are the Samsung users doing? How are the users from other device the manufacturers doing? How is the network quality experience of iPhone 5 versus iPhone 6 versus iPhone 6s users? So all of that is part of that particular facet. Customer's location is key to the experience as well. So does the customer get a dropped call when they take a particular turn on the highway, on the way to home or on the way to office? Do they get a dropped call when they approach the same tunnel to work every day? Right? All of that is important and part of the customer experience. The last two facets are application and service. So application can make or break an experience for the subscribers, as all of us know. How is the individual application performance, whether it's Facebook, whether it's streaming YouTube videos, whether it's making a Skype call, how is that for a subscriber as they go about their day? Finally, right, the subscriber experience across all the different services that they use from service provider, whether it's a fixed line, whether it's a broadband, whether it's a mobile phone, whether it's a cable connection, it's a satellite connection, an IPTV connection. Is it consistently good? Has it deteriorated for a particular type of service over the last few days, right? And is all of that related to a particular device, a particular location? So that is the customer experience in whole. Now let's look at how do we get the information about the customer's experience. I have a very simplified network diagram here. As per my promise, I'm simplifying technology diagrams as we go along. So when you and I are active on the network, whether it's making a call, whether you're browsing news, streaming a YouTube video, we are all directly creating what is called user plane traffic, right? This is where you see that in blue here. Right? This is where we measure the customer's quality of experience when we are streaming the video, when we are making the Skype call, whether we are making another WhatsApp call. It is all streamed, whether the YouTube video streams without any buffering or whether the call goes through with good voice quality. That is what we are measuring here. There is a second type of traffic that is generated by customers' action, and it's called control plane traffic. You can see that in red here. It's all about the activities, all the signaling that network does to allow us to stream that YouTube video or make that WhatsApp or Skype call. Right? We take all of the network information, the user plane and control plane information, from our own data collectors or probes called SourceWorks, or we integrate with a third-party network probe from a vendor like Tektronix. We also integrate with virtual network probes, right? This is where the virtualized networks come in, where you have virtual network probes that we can integrate with. We tap into that activity for the virtualized network, and then we have the ability to integrate all types of networks, whether it's a physical or virtual network, whether it's a fixed voice, SMS, data network. We get the whole picture, and we relate everything in that control plane at the network level to the user plane level information, to the subscriber level information. And that's how we get an idea of a quality of experience that subscriber is seeing. How is that related to network events, right? Sandra talked about this earlier with Juan Ma, the global CTO of networks at Telefonica, who said setting up the service operations center SOCs to do this. This is what it's all about. So without further ado, let's look at the offering that we have, right? This is an industry solution that's purpose-built for this. So this is called IBM Now Factory, Customer and Network Analytics. To make it brief, we're going to just call it IBM CNA from now on. We have combined our expertise of integrating network and subscriber data at hundreds of telcos to really build out a package solution for you with pre-built data models, business and technical matrix, and pre-built dashboard for three main users, right? Network operations is the main user, along with service quality management people, those teams, and customer care teams. Last but not the least, customer care teams benefit immensely from the solution. So let's talk about business benefits of the solution, because that's ultimately why you're getting it, not because it's technically brilliant, right? We help you save revenue and we help you reduce costs by improving customer retention. We finally know which network issues are impacting your most important, most loyal, most profitable customers, and you can take appropriate actions to reduce or eliminate the impact. We take it a step further with proactive network analytics and proactive care, where you can forecast which network issues are likely to escalate, right? Which can affect your subscribers and the most important subscribers, and take proactive actions to remedy the situation. The care team can predict which subscribers are likely to churn and take proactive customer care actions to prevent that churn. The network capacity team finally knows where to invest the constrained funds for infrastructure improvement. And all of the telcos who are on the line will agree with me right now. We just don't have enough funds to keep up with all the technology improvements, all of the infrastructure that customer is demanding, right? So in order to know where to invest it, you can use this particular solution. You know exactly where you can invest so that you can get the maximum benefit in terms of new revenue and profits, where your most loyal customers are, how can you drive new profit revenue streams, all of that. Last but not the least, understanding subscriber experience drives new revenue. So Sandra and I did a webinar last week on June 23rd, which you can easily find by searching the terms light reading webinar, called Strategies for retaining and monetizing your customers. Strategies for retaining and monetizing your customers. And if you choose the keyword light reading, you should be able to find it. I've included a link here in the final charts as well. So as you understand your customers better, you can run really effective internal campaigns for selling them new services and accessories. And you can also monetize the customer data to drive mobile offers from restaurants, from shops, and other businesses. Now let's look at a real customer who is saving over $69 million in 3 years with the deployment of this solution. It's a tier 1 operator in Latin America, and I'll be happy to set up a conversation for you to chat with this client when you're considering deploying this solution. They have end consumers as well as large corporations as their clients. The first area that they applied IBM CNA to was their corporate care. They proactively monitored their top clients using our solution. They identified and fixed issues that are affecting their VIP customers. They had improved customer satisfaction and retention in the top 20 accounts. And specifically for the top 5 accounts, IBM CNA was the factor that retained and grew the accounts. They estimated the benefit of reduced churn and revenue that was saved to be around $34 million for the 3-year period. Next area of improvement is the mobile virtual network operators, or MVNOs. They realized they have a lot of MVNOs running on their network, and they realized that a lot of these MVNOs are churning off the network because of poor quality of service. So they focused the CNA solution to measure and improve the key metrics for these operators and had excellent results. For example, they improved the dropped call rates by 75% for MVNOs, and they saved over $12 million in 3 years. And let's look at the third area, which is second and third line of customer care. Now, each call to second and third line of care costs about 2 to 5 times the call to the first line of care, right? As the calls tend to be longer in duration, and the agents manning the phones are more qualified and therefore more expensive to employ. So through proactive network analytics, they were able to reduce the average handling time, in some cases as much as 90%, and save over $9 million in 3 years of deployment. The final 2 areas that I want to talk to you about in terms of business benefits are for marketing and revenue assurance. So with better understanding of the individual subscriber behavior and experience, the marketing turned the retention as well as cross-sell and upsell of offers to drive over $8 million in 3 years with additional revenue. The revenue assurance, the last pillar of the benefits here, was really accidental. So they rolled out the solution. They realized that a set of clients were using services that were not part of their contract. They negotiated with those clients and were able to realize about $7 million of additional revenue in 3 years with that, right? So about $69 million in 3 years, and the deployment is fairly fast. It takes usually just months to deploy this particular solution. So I've talked a lot about individual subscribers, monitoring them all the time. Now let's look at why, right? Why is it required to monitor every subscriber all the time? So one of the use cases we looked at earlier was VIP customers. Like, all of us can understand why you have to monitor VIP customers. When they call in and report an issue, you want your care team to quickly drill down, identify, and provide your customers' time frame for resolution, right? Better yet, you want to proactively monitor those service levels for those clients, reach out to them before they call you, and keep them apprised of resolution progress. So looking at all the subscribers at all the time to let you do that, you also have the ability now to start looking at subscribers in terms of their segments. So on the next chart, we have subscribers grouped by contract type, right? So for example, if it's a prepaid or a postpaid subscriber, right? Whether it's a subscriber that has an Apple device, whether they have a Samsung device, and even down to the level of individual device models of iPhone 5 versus 6S and Galaxy S5 versus S6. So all of that ability to monitor and ability to take individual subscribers and then relate them to specific accounts that are high value, relate them, for example, here we have Coca-Cola, Royal Bank of Scotland, and Energia as accounts that are shown as examples. All of that. So this particular analysis is not possible without a solution that monitors all subscribers all the time. Right? Next, on the next chart, we are looking at, let's look at a little bit under the covers and look at the terminology for IBM CNA. So the data sets for IBM CNA essentially capture our best practices, what we have learned about customer experience data models from numerous deployment at large and small telcos across the globe. And there are two parts to that really. So we have the metrics, right, and we have the dimensions. So it is a set of metrics captures the customer experience. For example, mobile data, right, would have metrics like round trip time, average application user throughput, video start time. So let's take an example of a matrix. The video start time, if it's sub-second, that's excellent performance, right? If it's over 5 seconds, we are in the poor performance, bad performance territory, right? We take each matrix and then start to relate to different dimensions of the customer experience. So this is where we're talking about who is the customer, where they were when they experienced that poor video start time, for example, which device were they using, which network they were using, whether it's 2G, 3G, or 4G network or a fixed line network, whether they were using a particular app for streaming that video, right? All of that details are the dimensions. So as you have this complete picture with the data set, you have the ability to take this best practice customer experience data models and deploy those quickly in your organization. Next, let's quickly look at 2 minutes to do a high-level architectural overview, right? Bottom layer is data collection. So we have our own probe solution, which we call SourceWorks. And SourceWorks, we can integrate with a third-party probe, or we can also integrate with a third-party probe, right? We can also integrate with a network equipment provider, like Juniper, for example. We have a partnership with them for a pre-built integrated solution. We also have integration with virtual network probes, right? All of that data collection then feeds into mediation layer, which is built with massively scalable IBM Streams platform component. So mediation takes the raw network data from the data collection layer and creates this customer experience data set that we just talked about with the matrix and the dimensions, right? Then it feeds that into the analytics and data store, which is built on open standards-based Hadoop, right? Finally, at the top layer of the architecture, we have 2 ways of accessing the data and the insights that are contained within this solution. So we have pre-built business user dashboards. We'll get to those in a moment, that allow the network operations team, the service management team, and the care teams to drill down into specific subscribers' experience. So this is called the CNA UI in the architecture. The other way of accessing data is also via Cognos frameworks. So we ship Cognos frameworks with the solution, right, so that clients can build out their own reports using their own IT team, or we can provide our expert services if you need those. At the very bottom layer on the right corner, you see next to mediation and data collection, you see provisioning data. So this is where we are transforming the IMSI, or International Mobile Subscriber Identity, IMSI, right, which is just a tracking number that comes from the raw network data, and we relate that to the billing system detail. So we know that this is a particular customer with the so-and-so name, they belong to this organization, they are part of a VIP account, for example, their contract type is postpaid, or their contract type is prepaid, in some cases where it's an individual subscriber with a prepaid account. We need information, right? We do all of this information for the IMSI IMSI number that's coming in. We also take the device serial number here and convert that to a make and model, right? So this is a Galaxy S6, or this is iVote 6S. All of this raw network, all of this is basically for making raw network data useful and relevant in measuring the customer experience. So we have a few minutes left. Let's look at some of the UI screens that we have in the product, right? So this is the landing page that you see when you first enter. So we're going to look at the first screen called Customer Master. We're looking at an individual subscriber now. So on the left-hand side, you can see the devices this particular subscriber has, the location that they're using services at. Coming to the middle of the screen, you can see the throughput, the latency, and overall experience. You can see that this customer has had poor experience for part of their usage. To the right of the screen, you have session activity detail and application user and down to specific app, like HTTP usage is for browsing, Google Drive usage, Facebook, YouTube, all of that, right? These dashboards are interactive. And from here, you can drill down into a specific part of customer experience graph to understand the issue. So that's what we're going to do right now. So we are drilling down to a specific cell to look at the poor experience that a customer has had, right? To understand whether this particular experience is is uniform. It's related to device. It's related to, it was uniformly bad for all customers that were connected to that particular cell at that time? Or is it something particular with the customer's usage or their device that's causing a poor performance? This lets you quickly look at all the information and lets your care team, for example, answer questions and say, hey, this is the root cause of the problem. This lets you, the service quality team, the NetOps team, they can drill down even further from this to look at specific details that are even more granular than this. In the interest of time, we're going to look at couple of more screens. So another screen is called Corporate Manager, right? We are back to the dashboard of the solution, and we're clicking on the Corporate Manager to drill down to this particular corporate account view. So you can see that the video experience has been poor for a set of subscribers. You can see that in red on it. So we can drill down here to specific details of a poor video experience to find out really what is affecting this particular subscriber. What is the root cause for this particular performance. So again, each dashboard allows a drill down to the level of detail, so you can look at individual devices, individual subscribers who are affected, what is the application level breakdown for this corporate account, and then down to experience for an individual level subscriber when they have a poor experience. So we're back to the dashboard of the solution again. Now we're going to look at Device Manager, right? So we click on the second icon, Device Manager, and now we look at a performance of a particular type of device. Here we're looking at iPhone 5S. You can see that upload and download throughput performance on the left-hand side. As you look at these charts, lower throughput on the left-hand side is marked in red, which indicates poor experience for the subscriber, and higher throughput, of course, on the right is green, and amber or orange bars in the middle are the average performance charts, right? So you can use this dashboard now, drill down to specific areas where there's poor performance. Again, look at what's happening with other devices at the same time that we're using that particular network at the part of the network at the same time, and then compare and contrast to see whether this is a device-specific issue, a configuration issue, firmware issue, or it's actually a network component issue. So next, and this is where we get into now user-defined dashboards, right? This is a customizable area of IBM CNA, Customer and Network Analytics. You can easily select any dimension that's available within our rich data set, any matrix that's part of the data set for customer experience, and create your own dashboard here, right? So for example, we have here voice and SMS dashboard that's been created quickly by the user for their own usage. So as you can see, these screens are really built for ease of use, easy deployment, pre-built screens, and you can build more customizable dashboards that you can drill down to on top of that. Finally, so let me recap some of the differentiators, right? I mentioned that you would buy this solution for the tremendous business value, but let's look at some of the technical differentiators that we have. We are the best in the market when it comes to customer experience management, rated by multiple analyst firms. We have an end-to-end customer experience management solution for all of your network needs, right? Whether it's wireless, whether it's fixed line, whether it's IPTV, we can take in information from all of that. We have best-in-class data sets or customer experience data models created with the matrix and dimensions that are available for you out of the box. We have an open, flexible, and highly scalable architecture. I cannot emphasize the importance of selecting a tool that is highly scalable given the amount of volume that we are generating right now as consumers on the networks and what is expected with 5G, right? So with the foundation of IBM Streams as a mediation layer, for example, it's scalable as much as hardware you throw at it, it can scale, right, to any amount of volume. Last but not the least, we have presence in 160 plus countries around the world and a comprehensive partner ecosystem of partners that are experts in telco that can deploy these solutions for you. Now, I'm going to move back a step to say this is just one part of the IBM industry solutions. Whatever you're doing, whether you select IBM solution or another solution, or you decide to build it yourself, you have to look at this journey of reactive to proactive to cognitive. So reactive part is where many of you are, and you're building out solutions for proactive or planning solutions for proactive operation, network operations, right? The solution that we just look at, IBM Now Factory Customer and Network Analytics, is satisfied both reactive as well as proactive operation needs. right? We are building on that with Watson, and we have solutions now built on top of it that are allowing to do cognitive operations. So there, or Watson is actually looking at what's happened historically, the fact that you have congestion around a particular area of Midtown Manhattan in the peak of Christmas traffic, and then start to suggest that you should maybe reorient your wireless antennas to avoid that congestion, right? That is learning algorithm infrastructure. That's something that is unique to IBM in terms of our experience in deploying cognitive solutions with Watson on top of this. So with that, here is a chart that gives you a little bit of a background about where you can get more information. On the left-hand side, you have a white paper that's in bold. I recommend you look at it. There's an analytics assessment tool at the telecommunications homepage. So on the right-hand side, in top right-hand side in blue, you see the link there. That's the IBM Analytics Telecommunications homepage. You can go here and take an analytics assessment readiness survey. That will tell you how ready you are to deploy advanced analytics in your organization, and then request a free workshop if you're ready to implement one or more use cases in your organization. On the right-hand side, as I mentioned in the webinar table, first entry, strategies for retaining and monetizing your customers. It's a live trading webinar that occurred last week. It's available for you on demand. If you are interested in knowing more about data monetization and how to drive new sources of revenue on top of this network analytics infrastructure, you can definitely do that. At the bottom of the page, I've included my email, my Twitter ID, and my LinkedIn address. With that, let me open it for question and answers now.
Thanks, Gaurav. This is Kyle again. Great presentation, and we've had some questions come in. If anyone has any other questions, please just submit those. So first question coming in. So how does one get started with proactive analytics? Can you walk through some of the first steps? Hey, Gaurav, did you hear that?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was speaking to myself on the mute here. So there's this IBM Analytics for Telecommunications homepage. If you just search for IBM Analytics for Telecommunications in any search engine, you'll find it. The URL is right there on the top right-hand side. When you go there, you'll find an analytics assessment tool, right? Analytics readiness assessment. I would say you start there. There are two parts of it. Start with the customer care part, because direct benefit of this, immense benefit of this is to the care organization, as we looked at earlier with the large Latin American client. We have another client, a large tier 1 North American telco, using IBM Industry Solutions. They have driven $404 million of benefits in 3 years. And I did misspeak that. That's $404 million in 3 years, documented benefits for proactive customer care using our industry solutions. So those are the kind of benefits you have. So I would say start there. Go to the analytics assessment, readiness assessment in the homepage. It's right there on top. Or send me an email. I'll be happy to send a link to you. Do the assessment. It'll tell you where you are with respect to the best practices in the industry. You will benchmark your own care organization practices, and then request a free workshop whenever you're ready to have a one-day workshop to just understand what you want to do, how you can get the proactive care. The best part about this particular thing is it can fund for itself. So in 3 or 4 months of deployment of the solution, it can literally pay back. And within the first year, you have amazing payback period where you actually have the ability to please your chief financial officer, the CFO, which is typically will be a factor in your purchase decision. Show them these benefits and have them talk to the clients. One of the things you will see is a lot of people make noise about having best proactive care or network analytics solution. When the rubber meets the road is when you ask them, can I talk to a client who has deployed this and saved tens of millions of dollars using this? And that's where we shine, right? Because we have been doing it for past several years at literally hundreds of telcos across the world.
All right, great. Next question we had come in. So is QoE data, is it stored or is it analyzed on the fly and not kept in any sort of system?
Good question. So quality of experience data is, yes, stored as well as analyzed on the fly. What do I mean by that? As the data is pouring in, the streams, the data collection probe source works, or we connect to a third-party NEP, network equipment provider switch or probe, right? As the data is pouring in, Streams is a real-time analysis engine. So as it's pouring in, we are doing real-time analysis of that data. We are real-time correlating that data between user plane and control plane. And Streams is raising alerts, right? It's raising events to say, oops, there's a problem here. Looks like the capacity to carry the data from Midtown Manhattan cell tower back to the core network infrastructure suddenly dropped. Now, the reason for that could be that the crew, the building crew, the maintenance crew from the municipality was drilling and by mistake cut a fiber optic cable, right? That could be the reason. But the fact that you have seen this congestion on the data that's pouring in real time, Streams is capable of doing that, right? Then we store that data inside the Hadoop instance that I mentioned. So that's real-time flagging. Then we have NetOps, looking into why that happened, find out the reason, communicate with, 80,000 subscribers that are connected to that particular cell tower and let them know, hey, there's a problem with the fiber optic cable that's carrying the data back to the network. We are fixing it. Rest assured, we'll fix it in 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever. And meanwhile, you might experience some deterioration in the quality of the video. So that's a real-time aspect. Then we store that information over a period of time into the Hadoop instance. And then we do a historical analysis for flagging things like we always get severe congestion on Friday afternoons around San Francisco Giant Stadium at 4 intersections. These are the 4 intersections where we get congestion, and these are the 2 intersections that are near the stadium where we don't get congestion there, right? That kind of historical analysis, and then we apply a learning algorithm on top from Watson, and then starts to tell you that, hey, Friday afternoon, there's a San Francisco Giant game coming up, reorient those wireless antennas so that you don't have congestion because of lack of radio capacity, right? I talked about a lot of technical stuff, but that's the power of doing real-time analysis to solve the problems here and now, and doing a historical analysis of the entire pool of the data, network experience data, all of the quality of experience data, over a period of time to understand where you're going to have a problem, forecast it, and fix it even before it occurs.
All right, and we have time for a few more questions. So the next one coming in, how is a subscriber's user experience measured? Is there something on the subscriber's device, or is the measurement done on the network application level?
Okay, so can you repeat the last part again? Sorry, Kyle.
Yeah, so is the subscriber experience, is it measured either on the subscriber's device or is it on the network appliance level?
Okay, yeah. So another great question. So we measure it down to the device level, right? Individual device level, down to the individual app level, not just device level, individual app level. So how do we do that, right? As the data starts to pour in, right, data has markers on it that indicate application signatures. So if you're using YouTube streaming, or you're streaming a video from Facebook, or you posted a Twitter update, right? All of those have application signatures as a part of the data. So we have the capability not to look at which video you were watching. We're not interested in that. We're looking at the fact that you're watching a YouTube video, right? Based on the application signature. So we maintain application signatures for all the major applications, and therefore we are able to see the data coming from the individual device. And if there is a device, if there is a tool installed on it as a part of your contract with your network provider, then we can also do device level debugging, like your firmware, for example, is old, and therefore it's causing a problem with the network configuration, right? So all of that, down to a particular device, down to a particular app, we have ability to look at that data, and we look at that data for the clients, several clients that we have deployed at, down to that level. That's the reason why they bought it, because unless you have an app level user experience tracking down to a particular device, you really don't have the visibility that's required to satisfy a millennial client or even a Gen X client, right? They are demanding clients that require you to know what their problems are even before they call you, right? And that's where proactive care and proactive network analytics comes in a big way, because their expectations are high.
Okay, and I think we can fit in a couple more questions here. So next one, with budgets limited, how does one pay for this sort of solution?
Great question, yeah. And I get this question all the time. Hey, it's not like I have money falling out of my pockets, right? How do I pay for this? The simplest way to pay for this, that's where I'm going to recommend that you start, is to start with the proactive care approach, right? Why? Okay, I'm going to give you a simple math equation here, and it's easy to follow along, so don't worry about it. A typical mid-sized telco has about 1 billion customer care calls coming in, right? Every month about 1 million calls. Average cost would be between $5 and $10, right? For the North American telcos, it's even higher. It's up to $15 to $17 per care call. Let's assume $10 is an average. So you're spending about $10 million on customer care calls, 1 million calls per month, $10 per call. So you're looking at $120 million in total care expenditure in terms of calls coming in. Now we are able to save, with a proactive care deployed, enabled by this proactive network analytics, we are able to save 30% of those calls, right? How do we do it? We anticipate a problem and we communicate with the subscriber using cheaper communication mode. So I'll give you a couple of examples. More than 50% of the calls are related to billing. We all know that, right? Two main reasons why subscribers call about billing. First thing, why is my bill so high this month, right? All of us have done that, right? Second reason why you call is because, hey, I need a couple of more weeks to pay my bill. You send me a bill, you send me a reminder by email and text. I just need a couple of more weeks, right? Both of these reasons results literally in tens of millions of dollars in care calls, right? Every month for a large operator and millions of dollars per year for a smaller operator. What if with our solution, with proactive care enabled by the proactive network analytics, we can actually enable this to say, hey, looks like here is the reason why your network, why your bill was high. So send a proactive explanation by text, by email to the subscriber so that you reduce those calls about the bill. If you know a particular subscriber always pays, but they pay a couple of weeks late every other month, extend that deadline. Just text them, letting them know, hey, we know you need sometimes to pay. We are extending your payment deadline by 2 weeks. No need to call, right? The savings that you do with that gesture are twofold. First thing is customer says, hey, these are gracious people. They understand my needs. Secondly, they don't call, talk to a care guy, and end up investing time on the call, which is something that can be handled automatically. When you have things like that, this is when you move from reactive to proactive. And when you start learning from this over a period of time and start implementing policies, and when Watson comes back and says, these are the policies you should implement, that's when you get into the cognitive arena, right? You constantly improve your business model to reduce costs, improve revenue, and improve customer satisfaction.
All right, and I think we have time for one more question. So can a customer can I use the customer master in my enterprise data warehouse for doing this sort of thing?
I get that question all the time. That's the first thing they'll say. Hey, I had a customer centricity project. I spent certain number of millions of dollars for establishing my customer master in the enterprise data warehouse. Why do I need a different solution, right? Why can't I use it? So I'm going to ask you just 2 or 3 questions to consider, and then you'll start to see why it's not. First of all, great job, right? If you have a customer master with your enterprise data warehouse, you have now foundation for building this solution on top of it, right? You have some of the baseline data that you need. But consider this, right? Does it have the real-time capability? Does it have the ability to see the network data that's pouring in from all of your locations, from all of your devices, and flag issues that are important to look at, like a VIP customer, subscribers having an outage, or a massive outage that will affect Midtown Manhattan or downtown San Francisco or Austin, Texas downtown, right? If you don't have that real-time ability, then you're really looking at historical data analysis and not here and now, right? Do you have predictive capabilities as a part of your data warehouse customer master, right? Can you forecast where the issues are going to be before they occur? Can you have a plan of action ready based on that, right? Is all of that integrated into your customer communication channel? Is it integrated into all of your channels? Does your master enterprise data warehouse customer master have the ability to do that. So I would say look at that as the foundation and build on top of that with an industry solution like IBM Now Factory CNA to actually extend that and make it real time, make it predictive, and then with Watson make it cognitive so that it learns by itself the best practices and proposes those back to you.
Okay, thanks. That's about all the time we have today. I want to thank everyone for joining today's webinar, Proactive Analytics in an Era of Virtualized Networks and Cloud, presented by IBM. Again, our presenters today were Sandra O'Boyle, Senior Analyst CEM and Analytics at Heavy Reading, and Gaurav Deshpande, Senior Program Director, Analytics, Industry Marketing, Communications Sector at IBM. Thank you to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.